Thank you very much for joining us this evening for the very first design meeting for Site 50 HSE2, which is a high school, will be opening in August 2024. It will be in the Starwood area and it will relieve Lake Nona High School. A few housekeeping notes about how this meeting will work. Attendees are automatically muted, cameras off. However, our team of architects tonight will be asking questions of you, our community. When that occurs, please put your thoughts into the chat and I'll read out as many as I can. You'll also have an opportunity to fill out an online survey, which is available now at https://ocps-hsdesign. I will also drop that into the chat so that everyone can see it. Jose, if you could please advance the slide. The video icons you see are panelists who are available to answer questions today. I will be introducing them shortly. If you have any technical issues, I will also put the WebEx support information in the chat. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the OCPS Facilities Communications YouTube page, as well as sent out as a link. The presentation slides are posted already at facilities.ocps.net and posted on Board Member Lopez's page at ocps.net under School Board. Today, we are officially kicking off the design process for Site 50 HSE2, a high school that will be opening in 2024 in the Starwood area. Also, mark your calendars. The next meeting in this series will be December 6th at 6 p.m. But before we get started, let's turn to Board Member Johanna Lopez for welcoming remarks. Board member, oh, it worked. Excellent. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. What a great honor for me to be here tonight to share with you the great news of a well-deserved high school in the beautiful Lake Nona area. OCPS has a team of architects on board and have begun the design a new school to serve the Lake Nona Starwood area. This project has already been accelerated by year from 2025 to 2024. The school will be the first of a new prototype design. The community is being asked to provide input to guide the new design. This is a very fast timeline for building a completely new high school. I hope you enjoy the presentation, provide feedback, and clarify all the questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Lopez. Orange County Public Schools and the project's design and construction teams for this project have sent representatives to be on hand today. First, I want to thank the Lake Nona High School administrative team, including Principal Martha Chang and Assistant Principal Stephen Morsher, for making this meeting possible today. We are also joined by Executive Area Director for the High School Division, Todd Trimble. The architect on this project is Ziskovich. So for tonight, you'll hear from Jose Merguido online, and we also have Michael McGuinn, Michael Erling, and Don Hetzer from Ziskovich in person. The construction manager for this project is Core Construction. We have David Lewis and Eric Melbostad here from Core, as well as Lena Graham Morris from Horace, who is also a participant in the construction process. From OCPS, we have project manager Cass Hurst, and he is the one who, during this project, will bring the architect, the school division, and the building team all together to make sure the school is built as designed. We also have Senior Facilities Director, Executive Director Rory Salamine here in person. We have Director of Construction Planning Jessma Lambert, Senior Facilities Director Faz Ali, both here in person. Design Manager Mo Arthur is online. Christopher Mills, who's with our Facilities Planning Division, is on virtually. Adam Zubritsky from OCPS Transportation is on virtually. And from OCPS Police, Commander Randall Durkee, who oversees this area, is here in person. So you'll see a variety of in-person and on video people popping up. The in-person people will be in this box. And if a question is asked that'll be answered online, you'll see their box pop up. So at this point, I'm going to turn over the virtual podium to Jose Merbrito to see how this project is going to be envisioned. Oh, and I should mention this too. Here is the link that you can go ahead and fill out the survey about what you want to see in this brand new high school design. And Jose will tell you a little bit more about that. But you can do that at any point now, later, and through Monday at 5 p.m.
An opportunity to chime in and really shape some of the ideas for this school. This is a little drone fly through that we did on it, and one of the things that this school will have is a magnificent site. It is a 61-acre site with wonderful pinelands, but it also has a lake in the middle of it that connects two wetlands, and that's part of the design process that we're going to go through, is have a sustainable school that will relocate those lakes and provide an educational opportunity and create one of the most exciting new schools in the state, if not the country. We are so excited to get started on this project. Let me share with you a little bit about the site itself. It's a 61-acre site, and there's already been plenty of work that's been initiated in getting some early approvals on the site. There are setbacks that have been already established. I've been working with the city of Orlando. The entry points have been agreed to, and it is, of course, a signature component in the Meridian Park community, which is a growing, emerging community. There's several phases that have been initiated now, but there's lots coming. And this school will be a signature component off the main road. And in fact, it's surrounded by pretty glorious landscapes. It's a wonderful community that maintains a lot of the natural vegetation, which provides a home for wildlife, as well as having ample wetlands. And all of these will shape the design of the school in providing a sustainable response to the site, and as an energy efficient facility as well. This is what you'll see as you're going northbound on Dowden Road. The school will be facing this intersection, and it'll be a prominent piece in the community. So as you're driving on the main road, the school will present itself. If you happen to be going southbound on Dowden Road, you see there's wide sidewalks that lead you to the school. This is probably how the buses are going to enter as you're coming southbound. You can also appreciate a little bit of the pinelands that we hope to preserve at the edge, so we can maintain some of the existing characteristics of the site. Right across the street from the school, there's a wonderful community, small town feel. So we're going to be very careful on how we scale the building, how we set it back, and how we have it contribute in a compatible way to create a sense of community with the architecture that's surrounding the school. As Lauren mentioned, there had been already accelerated activities happening on the project. There is a permit in place to do some clearing. As I mentioned, there's a series of meetings that have already taken place in an effort to advance the project and accelerate the project with entrances and setbacks and planning guidelines for the project. So that's already ongoing. Now, what's yet to happen, which is where you come in, how the community comes in, is really providing the input to make the programming and the spaces and the culture and the sense of community special for these generations of kids. High schools have a very foundational impact on we all remember, on young people. And it's important to maintain the things that that makes that such a special experience in young people's lives. So a few of the stats regarding the school. It's going to have 3,200 students, just a little over 3,200 students, which will be a large school, but it's on a large piece of land. It's got 61 acres. It'll be a $120 million facility. So this will be a state-of-the-art school, and it's going to open, as was mentioned, in 2024. Now, the school will have a rich assortment of learning environments, classrooms, science labs, career and technical education to prepare students for the exciting economies that are coming, art and performing arts labs, a full auditorium, and of course, administrative spaces and gymnasiums and cafeterias. And it'll have a rich array of field amenities, including a football stadium, visitor parking, and a number of other athletic amenities. One of the most exciting things we believe that the school is going to be bringing is 21st century learning, which is really to prepare young people with the skill sets necessary for them to thrive in the upcoming economy. It's also going to be one of the safest schools because we have integrated in a number of safety features, such as a single point of entrances and secure perimeters on the site. It's also going to be a sustainable facility in the sense that it'll be a net zero ready school, meaning that it'll have high performance envelopes on them to make sure that we're consume small amounts of energy, as small amounts as possible. And we will have health and wellness as a feature in the school of having adequate air filtration and changes of air in the project. It's intended to be a community school as well, which is why the input during this meeting is going to be so important. And I thank those that have already chimed in and have given us some responses online. And those really help shape how we're going to be planning the building. And needless to say, it's going to be rich in technology. It'll have Wi-Fi and computers and everything that you would expect, but we are looking forward to your thoughts on how to even enrich that. And in addition to that, it'll have career academies, which again, this is an opportunity for the community to provide input rather. So we're looking forward to those thoughts that you have. And to get the juices flowing on that, this evening is really designed as a unique kind of community meeting. It's really more of a visioning session. So if you were to kind of close your eyes and imagine what something could be, and that's what we're really asking you to do, is kind of imagine, as opposed to simply listing off things that you would expect, but maybe things that you wouldn't expect. So we're really inviting you to be architects for the evening. So I'm anxious to see what your thoughts are. And in an effort to try and get that going, one of the things that I'd like you to do is to kind of do some of these mind games with us. So just imagine for a moment, 5 years from now, that the school is already open, and all of the things you expected were there and then some. And you're giving a friend a tour of the school. What do you see? What do you see that you never would have expected? Think about that. Think about what thoughts might make you proud. Think about what would be an experience that you would like young people to have. I'm going to have you just a few minutes. I don't know if the chat is picking up some of the comments. I hope they are. So after you've done that a little bit, then perhaps we'll see what's changed. Imagine that you're living in this community and you're talking to one of your neighbor's kids, and they happen to be going to this high school, and they tell you in a very excited way that you'll never believe what's in here. This is something that's made them so exciting. What do you think has changed? What would you expect to create that kind of reaction in young people? Um, give that a little thought.
Jose, can you see we're starting to get some comments? Can you see them?
I cannot see any comments, unfortunately.
Okay. So we've gotten a few.
Yeah.
We had someone who said outdoor learning space is one of the things they want to see. Another participant said peaceful outdoor seating spaces where students can hang out and enjoy the cooler months. Another attendee said we would love to see sustainable technology, solar panels, etc. I'm just going to keep going through these because they're coming in. It's great.
Fantastic, fantastic. Exactly what we want to hear.
Ability to have cultural performances that the public is welcome to. From Renee, we have, I saw a high school once that had an indoor pool, and that was a great addition to the activities for the students. Bob says open air classrooms with breezes blowing through, and Christy says modern buildings. So you keep going, Jose, and I'll kind of chime in again in a few minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for being my eyes to the chat. So let's go to the kind of the last one here in the kind of imagining exercise that we're having. And high school is kind of a rite of passage to a certain degree where all of us remember those experiences. So you're driving by the construction of the school and it's about to open. And you think to yourself, oh, this is going to be open soon. But you say, boy, I hope they never change blank. What is it that should always be the same? What experiences in high school are so important that we should do everything that we can, that students, no matter what age, they always experience that kind of unique part of one's life.
Hey, Jose, I've got another round.
All right.
We'd love to see the school be walking distance to a new Lake Nona library.
Oh, okay.
Christy says advanced equipment anywhere from the weight room to computer labs to teacher computers. Bob says classrooms equipped with video to allow students to easily pivot between in-person and virtual attendance, kind of like we're doing now. Dawn says availability for home educated students to participate in classes, sports, and activities. Renee says the schools should always have an auditorium and performing arts space. Definitely will.
Fantastic.
Kristen says art studios, simulation labs, social gathering spaces like colleges, makerspace labs. Shannon says extracurricular activities, US flag. Yes, we definitely have a flagpole. Plenty of parking. Mary says opportunities to commiserate. I like that word. That's a good way to put it. Library, lunchroom, auditorium, gym, outdoor spaces. So, you know, places for kids to sit and connect. Dawn says a kiln. So I'll pause there, Jose.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we're jotting these things down, and we're looking forward for they to continue to come. So as thoughts occur, because we're going to go into more specific questions, but the purpose of this is just to get you to dream. Everybody has a little bit of architect in them, so we're encouraging you to let your little architect out and help us dream of what this new school could have that makes it really special. And the ways that you could do that, as you can see a little bit, is that we have multiple ways of incorporating your comments. In the in-person meeting, we have scribes in the room for those that are there that we could jot the notes down. As Lauren mentioned, in the chat room itself, we are recording those. And then online. I know many of you have already offered comments online, and we're organizing that into a database that will inform the design. And we encourage you to continue to do that through close of business Monday, September 27th. So there's still time to help shape this new school.
Thank
So,
you, Jose. If you don't mind, I want to try to see if there are people in person who have comments too. Don, do you mind standing up? If anyone has a comment or a question, can you raise your hand and Don will get it from you and bring it to me. And while we're doing that, Jose, there were some more thoughts on what people wanted to see in general before we go into the specific questions. Back to the right place. Okay. Lisa says the school should have athletic fields that we're proud to welcome visiting teams to. Football, baseball, softball, tennis, golf, soccer, lacrosse. Adrienne says, how is the design of the school going to provide safety for our students? And I think, Jose, you did mention that it'll have a single secured entrance and fencing, but if you have a more specific question, we do have Commander Durkee here who can answer a little bit. We don't go into specifics on how we secure our campuses, but just in general. Brian says partnerships with nearby companies, like a sponsor for robotics class. Noel says dual enrollment. Tim says outdoor passing between classes. Christy adds cultural options that can be added after items are selected. So, for example, statues of the mascot after it's chosen. Marissa says spaces for hands-on learning, thinking exposure to trades. And Shannon says skylights would be fantastic to allow more natural light inside. Anise says a dance/workout studio with mirrors. Spencer adds welding or a trades learning space. Brian said that while it's important to secure the campus, we don't want it to feel like a prison. How can the community come to something hosted at the school in the evening after teaching time? Kind of like we were doing right here tonight. Carla says bilingual programs. Bob wants to know how close the new school will be to the Bright Line train route. Okay, we will come back to that when we do Q&A, Bob. Make sure you remind me if I don't. Will there be an opportunity to highlight the school to passengers who are on their way to the airport? That's really cool. I like that idea. Shannon wants to ask more about the single entrance security. Okay, so these questions about the security and the Bright Line, I'm going to try to remember them, but please hold them because we're going to do Q&A at the end. Oh, and a suggestion from Christy that instead of having letters on the walls with the names of the different buildings, have those actually etched into the walls. Okay, so I'm going to pause at this point. Are we still getting the questions? Okay, when I get that question, Jose, I'll let you know.
Sure.
So if you want to go ahead.
All right. So we have, when you go to the survey, you'll see these questions. And the reason that the questions are important is because they help shape the most important part of a design of a building, which is the programming, which is exactly what you're doing now. It's those things that you built into the design that require space, that require relationships among spaces and create experiences. So we generated 9 questions, and this is what you'll see in the survey. And some of the comments have already been generated on those that got into the survey quickly. But the first one is, you may be familiar with the OCPS high schools. Great schools. This will be the version 2.0, would be the improved version of that 21st century school. What features do you like best of the current schools? What should we remember to include in this school that has served students so well in the past?
We
I'll let
had
you.
our person question.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Mike is going to address it, so I'm going to step out of the screen.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike McGuinn from Scovich Architects. I'm going to paraphrase a question that we had here in the audience, as far as one of the audience members was asking about how teachers potentially have input in the overall design process and early on, so that their experiences could be incorporated into the design. So what I can share is that we are going through currently meeting with staff. Actually, we had a tour today of Lake Nona High School to find out about some of the things that worked well. And just as Jose was mentioning earlier, what worked well, what hasn't worked well, what would you like to see going forward? So we are actively incorporating that into the design of the facility. And then the other opportunity would also be sharing it through the right channels and in the survey. The survey is perfectly put out there to make sure we get everyone's input all the way across the board. Jose, did you want to add anything to that?
No, all right, and I think that's excellent, Mike. And that I don't know if things have come in on the chat, but I'm curious to see what those online are thinking, and maybe we could put them out there for the rest to chime in.
Absolutely. Let me read you some of the feedback that's come in. There's a question about whether classroom buildings will be 3 stories. So I believe that's something that we're trying to get feedback about today, right? So if there are thoughts on that. Renee said she wants to see lots of parking. And Dawn noted that she loves that Lake Nona High School is next door to Valencia. And she's not sure how that could be replicated, but she does like it. And we did get a question just a few minutes ago about the Bright Line, and if we're going to capitalize on that with them being able to see the campus. Do you want to answer those at the end and just kind of gather feedback right now? Jose, what's your thought on that? Do you want to just hold all the questions till the end and just take feedback?
Well, I think we could talk about them as they come up, because it might stimulate other questions as well. But as far as the Bright Line is concerned, I mean, that's an exciting development in the project, and we're well aware of it being on the north end of the site. And it's something that there's an opportunity there, of course, to feature and highlight the school. But then there's also something that we have to balance, which is, a high-speed train going fairly close to us, to an educational facility. So we have to balance the disruption of noise and things like that. So we're, in fact, have acoustical engineers on the team to address that particular issue, and finding kind of the right balance between inviting and celebrating in such a way where it does not create a negative impact to the learning experience. So it is an opportunity, and it's also a challenge, and we're trying to find the best way of solving both. But it's a very good point.
Okay, we've got a few more comments and another question. So I believe this is the features they like. Ease of entry and exit to the parking lots. And from Mary, a large track and outdoor area and visibility from major roadways. There's also a question about, I want to read it exactly the right way. How do you plan to keep the integrity of the neighborhood across the street from the high school? Do you have a easy way to jump back to that slide where you talked about the neighborhood integrity? Where you were showing the context?
Well, it's not so easy, but I'll take you back. Because one of the things that is important is the scale and character of the community. Now, right across the street, there are 2-story homes that are facing, will be facing the school. But also, the city of Orlando has been very, very careful to provide height limitations on the project, which is indicated on these plans that you see here. So there is a maximum height, but we're also thinking that we're very fortunate that we have these mature pinelands buffering the site right now from the community, and they are also quite spectacular. So we're thinking of respecting the heights as required in the approvals, but also by providing buffers, that the beautiful landscaping that's currently there, and try and preserve as much of the trees and around the perimeter, so it could soften the community compatibility. As you see the project evolve, because as Lauren mentioned, there'll be subsequent meetings to this. You'll see how the building recognizes the character of the community in the coloration and scale of some of the features. But there are some built-in safeguards, if you will, in the overall planning, setting maximum heights and setbacks in the planning documents. That's all? Does that answer some of the questions? Let me go back to where we were.
Jose, as you get back on track with the questions,
Okay.
some of the items that we had, we collected in the survey that has been filled out so far, would mention. A lot of the elements that they've talked about doing well for in their past facilities were noted as items today in the overall chat. And so if we can highlight a couple of those, such as the performance and cultural spaces that are currently in a lot of the existing facilities. The outdoor learning environments are absolute positives that have been received well. Technology in the labs, that was an item both noted as successes and items that they'd like to see expanded and improved. I think those are items we were carrying on our list prior as well.
I think that point that was raised to find community partners to provide students an experience beyond the campus was a very interesting suggestion. So that's something that we could also be contemplating. So let's go to the next one.
Jose. We just have one more on question 1 while you move ahead to 2.
Mhm.
One last piece of feedback on number 1 was it would be great if the entrance, exit / parking lot construction was thoughtfully designed for smooth movement during busy morning and after school hours. And then I'll ask all of our attendees to look at the new question that's up on their screen.
Okay. And I guess that question that was just asked it kind of highlights what this one is about. What features do you dislike about current high schools that we should heed? What are the things that you would like us to design out? What has not been something that has worked out as well as has been hoped? So think about that. And of course, traffic is always an issue, and we have multiple configurations that you'll be seeing as the project develops to mitigate those factors.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we're going to read some of the answers that have come in for the second question.
Again, this is repeating some items from the survey. One of the items was, translate the comment, was to make the building feel more inviting. Critique of past facilities. I think we heard a little bit earlier the comment about, that was in the chat, with reference to having a civic presence and having facing the main roadways. There's a comment in the chat element that asks about the facing the main roads, and will there be more than one main road to the site?
Okay, and we've got a couple more comments that just came in on number 2. Renee says the parking lot seems too narrow and the exit isn't easy to find. So that's on an existing high school.
Mm-hmm.
Renee says too spread out, does not allow enough time to go between classes, especially when they're on the opposite ends, I'm sure. Carter says he's concerned that they all end up with portables within 3 years. He's specifically referring to Lake Nona having portables, though Lake Nona did open way under capacity. He said he'd like to see excess building space. Okay, Renee says, I can't say enough about traffic flow. Mary says add more natural light to classrooms, improve traffic conditions as discussed, implement better outdoor gym-like spaces, expand current gym setups, incorporate dedicated spaces for other extracurriculars like theater. And a question from Brian, does this school have to be the set plan for the next number of OCPS high schools? Jose, can you address what a prototype is and what that means?
Well, yeah, what a prototype is a solution to a repetitive type of educational need that communities have. So prototypes evolve in counties all over the state because of the fact that we live in a wonderful place and we continue to grow. And it requires more and more schools, but the schools tend to be the same curriculum, and they have the same educational objectives per grade configuration. So that's why prototypes provide a speed or a time benefit to districts and a cost benefit to districts. But having said that, it doesn't necessarily mean that prototypes do not respond to community needs, which is what we're doing with the purpose of this meeting, and also respond to the unique characters that we find in diverse communities throughout Central Florida. So a prototype can have significant benefits in time and in cost, but it can also be responsive to the unique characteristics of a community. And
Thank
this.
you, Jose.
Mhm.
Do you mind bringing up question 3 so that people can
No,
see
not at
that
all.
and start thinking
Here we
about
go.
it?
Yeah. What are the most
That's like
essential?
exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. What are the most essential skills you believe students should develop in this new school to be well prepared for the future? That is the purpose question. That's why you build it. What do you think from the community?
Jose, to share some of the survey comments that we received on that, go directly to the last question we had. The ability to develop emotional intelligence, leadership, the ability
that's
to
great.
collaborate and work together, being respectful of others, problem solving, and effective communication. And I think a lot of that goes to exactly what we've been talking about when the district has asked us to do with a prototype, is to create flexible, adaptable spaces that allow for those types of skills and intelligences to be developed. So I think the district's right on at those locations and direct focus of what this prototype will be.
Yeah, those are the core of the 21st century skills: collaboration, communication, creativity. Those are essential.
And Renee did add technical foundations. And so this school will be built as a one-to-one school with all students having computers. And Renee adds, I love how Lake Nona High School offers industry accreditations.
Oh, increasingly important. That's a great comment. Thank you, Renee.
Okay, one more response to 3. Looking for students who can be lifelong learners and integration between grade levels. Oh, and we got another one that just came in. Mary says, statistically speaking, most of the students go on to college. Skills essential for higher ed success, including financial management skills, resume writing, essentially functioning independently. New college hires, like just out of college, have sad communication skills. That's not my, that's the comment.
That's a comment.
I'm going to read a few more of these. I also just kind of wanted to tell the audience that if I don't read your question aloud, don't worry. We are still recording everything that's in the chat and it will all be incorporated into the survey results. Shannon says he'd like to see lots of opportunities because there are so many students and so few spots on things like sports teams, roles and plays. And Jamie says collaboration, modern technological skills, creativity, and guidance and support for future career choices. And Jose, do you mind bringing up the next question while you respond to those so people can
No,
get-
not at all, not at all. And I think those are fantastic concepts, which is really what's going to be shaping many of the 21st century experiences that we will be bringing into the school, and also be informing the pathways, which are the career and technical labs that'll be in the facility. So to try and prepare students for those higher ed as well as workforce skills that you mentioned. The following question, number 4. This new high school will be designed with a whole assortment of types of spaces: administrative offices, a media center, auditorium, an indoor gymnasium, on-site football, athletic amenities. You may have already addressed some of these, but what else beyond that do you think it should have?
So a couple of items that came through in the survey, and I'm sure they'll start to populate in the chat, are areas to hold special events, create community, and have performances. Inclusion of technology, tech-centered areas, robotics labs, high-performance computing, a lot of the spaces that were kind of mentioned a little bit.
Okay, and I see answers are starting to roll in online, but I don't want to neglect the people who are in the room also. So Don, do you mind standing up? And if anybody would like to give feedback on any of these first 4 questions, please give it to Don and I will repeat it so that the people on WebEx can hear it as well. See the student, the Scout has one. Okay, and so here are some comments that have come in on the last 2 questions. We need to make sure that young people have opportunities so that they can figure out their strengths and weaknesses and be able to communicate across cultures and different types of people. Bob says we should make sure that there are television production capabilities at the school, including giving students an opportunity to produce broadcasts of athletic and other performances. And Kim says we've got to have enough space. Sorry. Enough space in classrooms to social distance desks during a pandemic.
Yes.
Barry says for collaboration, we need to make sure that the spaces match that. We need to give them spaces to work as a team, indoors and outdoors, and for collaborative skill building. Renee says we need to have creative art space. Brian's requesting pools for competition. I don't think we're going to do that one, but it's good feedback. Community use spaces, like spaces that the community can use at school. Community team sports for younger students. And what do we have from inside the room?
So the comment that was to look at developing the site in a more ecological way, taking advantage of the beautiful surrounding area and the landscape, keeping that as part of those parking areas and paved areas and so forth, provide shade, and then overall to develop the school and the site in a more sustainable way.
All right. Got the juices flowing. All right. That's great stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. All right,
Oh,
let's bring
man.
up 5.
All
And
right,
like
let's
I
go to
said, if we
5.
don't get to your comment, it is still being recorded. And please do go fill out the survey so that you can respond to all of them too.
You know, a lot of times we think about the particular room. What rooms do we need? But this question is asking something a little different, and I challenge you on it. What experiences would you like to see in this new high school? Because those are really created by the spaces. But if we could have some thinking on what experiences do you think would be essential for the students of this high school to have? Learning,
And while
social.
people are thinking of that, I just wanted to, I'm sorry, Jose, we got a couple more answers on 4. Do you want me to read them off?
Sure.
Okay. People are asking for welcoming guidance counselor spaces, areas for teachers to plan and collaborate, hands-on high technology spaces with like 3D printers, robotics, computer networking, lots of natural lighting, opportunities to really feel school-wide, and cross-cultural learning spaces.
Huh, that's great.
And does anyone else have a suggestion within the room? Okay, Don, can you get the one from the gentleman? Trying to see if we can get the technology to work in here. It was giving feedback. You can try it though. Okay, give it a shot and we'll see if it works. And if it echoes too much, we'll just shut it off.
I think you'll have to repeat it, Lauren. I can't hear it.
Okay, yeah. So just to let everybody know, I'm listening and then I'll repeat. Okay, so I'm going to summarize what David said here in person. He works at an existing OCPS school, and he mentioned that the furniture has wheels on the pieces, and that really allows for collaboration because the furniture can be moved around. He also said it's really important not just to have collaboration spaces for students, but for teachers. And he'd like to see opportunities to merge multiple classrooms together. He mentioned specifically how some of our newer high schools have a collaboration kind of lab in the middle of a group of classrooms, and he'd love to see something like that continue. Did I miss anything, David? Good, all right. And since that worked, anybody in person who wants to use the mic down there, you are welcome to just jump up for any question or just raise your hand, either way. Okay, I think we've got 5 mostly covered. Let me read one here. Maybe we can read a few from the survey and then hop on to 6 because I do want to respect people's time. Okay, so Mary says experiences to integrate more effectively with other countries. We're globalizing at a fast rate and students should be educated on what that looks like and how to best assimilate and communicate. More opportunities to practice responses to real life problems and issues that they may face in schools and careers. They should also be given more opportunities to give back to the communities and volunteer. And Renee added, foster learning in a bright, positive, calming environment without distractions. Also, safety and feeling secure and cared for is incredibly important. And Jamie says experiences involving community collaboration and outreach. And then Shannon's endorsing the globalization comment. So I'm going to hand it over to Mike for a second to read some responses to 5 and 6, and everyone can feel free to chime in.
A lot of those were repeated here within the survey. A couple of different ones were within having career-centered exposure or different opportunities. Those relates to the academies and the labs. Some of the other items put in here were AI exposure, artificial intelligence, some opportunities for that type of exposure. And then the other item that was mentioned quite a bit was coding, STEM, and those abilities to have that type of collaborative growth and emotional intelligence and working together. We can move on to 6. So I'll give a couple of examples there. And this is related to what you'd like to see in new classrooms and lab. almost universally across many of the surveys was the increased use of technology. Um, One item was addressing additional cleanliness and good ventilation systems, type of filtration systems and increases there. And then bringing in hands-on and team building, again, talking about allowing spaces that can easily provide for collaboration.
That's fantastic stuff. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, let's
We
go.
have another thumbs up for giving to the community. And Bob added that he'd like to see all classrooms be equipped with video to allow both in-person teaching as well as reaching virtual students. So I think we're good on that one.
Okay, that was great stuff. That is very, very informative. Thank you so much. Okay, and now we're going a little bit outside the classroom. What are some of the community needs and activities which you think the new school may accommodate?
And we actually got a response to 6 that I think answers this one too. Brian says, encourage asking teachers what things they need to help teach students. I would like them well supported with material needs.
Other items that we had in the survey, Jose, related to some more tangible kind of community items, such as the facility becoming a enhanced hurricane protection area, a hurricane shelter, providing a theater space that can be utilized by the community as sort of central point of coming together. And then sort of more global item was with ways that the school and the facility can become carbon neutral or more sustainable in its overall development.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that really helps us think of ways to design the facility to allow for flexible use as well as maximum safety and security. So that's great stuff that we'll be building into our design.
That's right on with what comments are coming in right now. A couple folks have said that they'd like to see meeting spaces, that can be rented by churches, HOAs, meetings with other communities, community groups. And Mary says that we should make sure that our classrooms and labs have smart boards, virtual interaction, computer stations, and hands-on science equipment. Couple different comments about wanting to have spaces that can be used by outside organizations, including sports organizations. Community use of school track and athletic fields during non-school hours. Oh, and this is one that's a little bit different, saying not only places for churches to meet, but like ballet performances, local orchestras that could use the auditorium. And we did get a comment about hurricane space, like we also got on the other survey. So having a refuge area.
Okay. We've touched on this next to the last one a little bit. What sustainable features would you like to see in this new school? As we pointed out at the beginning of the presentation, it has a magnificent site with beautiful natural features, which implies a certain sustainable commitment, which will be designed into the building. But what else do you think? What sustainable features would you expect?
So echoing what was mentioned earlier from the student that was in the room of providing a sustainably designed site and some of the ecological areas that are already existing there. Some very specific items came through in the survey, references to solar panels, reduced energy, reduced water usage in the facility. Carbon neutral came up a couple of times, and specifically increasing or enhancing the indoor air quality in the indoor environment. Well,
Okay. Anybody in person have any thoughts to add to this?
Don, could you find out what his comment is or bring him up to the microphone, please? And Renee online said recycling, water bottle refill stations, and energy efficient windows and doors. Okay, and now our student is up at the
Thank you,
mic, so
Renee.
let me listen to him.
Okay.
Okay, so the comment was that we should have more plants on campus and in addition greenhouses, because that way the green features of the school will actually help with global warming, as opposed to making things worse. And actually, we got a couple similar comments into the chat just in the last few minutes. Mary says ventilation, low carbon emissions, solar, harnessing wind power, recycling, and best green practices. Carter says preserve shade trees where possible throughout campus. And Shannon says, I would love the size to be sustainable for future growth. It saddens me when a school that's 1 to 2 years old requires mobile classrooms.
Yes.
I think we're ready to move on to 9. I want to make sure we have some time for Q&A at the end.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yes, we're running out of time here. So, and speaking of which, we really, really appreciate all of your comments tonight. But if you have any other feedback, feel free to use the survey that's going to be open for several days. Your fingerprints will help, and I think you will see some of these, as many as we can possibly incorporate into this. It's been very insightful. And I encourage you to continue to help us. So that's what this one's about, is that it's an extended time that we have to solicit your thoughts. It's not every day you get to reinvent high schools. And this is a wonderful opportunity for the community to help shape it.
I did just put the web address in the messages again. So if anyone came in a little bit later and didn't see it, there it is. You can also use the QR code that's on the screen to get to the same place. And I just want to ask, in the room, is there any other feedback that we should be adding, questions we didn't ask? Okay, and if I could invite Commander Durkee up here, there was a question a little bit earlier about how we secure school. Oh, there's a question. Okay, come on up to the mic while Commander's working his way up. Cool. Very cool suggestion out of the audience saying that schools have grass and trees, but they don't usually have flowers. And it would be great if we could incorporate some plants that would help butterflies and bees. And before I hand things over to Commander Durkee to talk about security in general, there was a question about zoning that I want to make sure to address, because I'm sure a lot of people have that question. So this school will get a zone probably approximately a year before it opens. We don't do the zoning this far in advance because there can be so much change to the residential layout of a community in about 3 years. So we try to do the zoning a little bit closer when the school opens so that we incorporate all the new residences.
Yeah, probably not. Okay, in response to the security question, obviously we don't talk about specific things that we do at our schools. However, we do multi-layered approaches. One of the biggest things we do is we don't want to just, how should we say, have one approach to it. We have everything from perimeter fencing, securing of our buildings, methods for screening potential visitors that could be potentially dangerous to the campus. We also have law enforcement officers that are assigned to all of our campuses. And we utilize a lot of different layers to monitor activities that are going on in the school, from everything from video cameras to staff activations, trainings, and things like that for being aware of situations that appear on our campus. We do a lot of different things, not one strategy, but we have multiple strategies overlaid to make the schools as safe as we possibly can.
And now I'm making it go back to the short person. Thank you so much, Commander Durkee. Are there any more comments or questions in the room? Got one there. Do you mind coming up to the microphone? Got it. So this was a comment that's actually different than anything else we've heard tonight. He was saying that when we design it, make sure that we design it with public transportation in mind, not only just for the students and the people who work here, but for when there's a public event at the school, making sure that it's convenient enough for people to access the school by public transportation, which is definitely something that we look at. So I'm glad you brought that up.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So are there any more comments or questions? I do want to mention that our next meeting, which is going to be 30% design, and you'll actually see our thoughts on where the building's going to go. That will be December 6th at 6 p.m. Format to be determined. We just need to see where we are to figure out if virtual or in person makes more sense in December. Also, these slides that you're seeing right now are accessible at facilities.ocps.net. They're there now. They're also up on School Board Member Johanna Lopez's webpage. And the video of this meeting will also be shared. Anybody who is registered for the webinar or signed in as an attendee here in person will get an email link to the recording. And I just want to offer up this chance for Board Member Lopez. Did you want to offer any closing comments or thoughts?
I just wanna say that I am very excited about this new school. This prototype will be very assertive to the beautiful area of Lake Nona. So I am so excited. Just looking forward to keep having these type of meetings and know the feedback of the community, so we can help them and guide them during this process. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Thank you so much. And Jose, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I just wanted to echo Board Member Lopez's point is that thank you so much for helping shape the initial phase of this project. And we're hopeful that you continue to participate and see your fingerprints on the evolution of the school. So we're very, very excited, and we can't wait to go into the building. That's the next exciting step.
Great. So
Okay.
thank you everybody for your participation today. Very appreciative of all your input. We're going to close out the meeting now.
All right. Thank you, everyone.